Jai Jinendra. This is dipikkagala, and I will continue with chapter 1, knowledge. Before I proceed, I'll do the namaskar to Panchaparmeshri. Namo Arihantanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Ayaryanam, Namo Uvachayanam, Namo Lori Savva Sahonam, Eso Panchanamukkaro, Savva Pavapanasano, Mangalanancha Savvesim, Padamam Havai Mangalam. Chapter 1, Knowledge. Every living being desires to live happily and endeavors accordingly. But the concept of happiness varies with the level of physical and spiritual development. Based upon their concepts, the living beings can be classified in two broad categories of those who seek material happiness and those who seek spiritual one. The first category looks for worldly pleasure, which depends upon the external situations like access to the relevant objects, capability of the sense organs to avail them, etc. The second category aspires to gain the lasting bliss, which arises from within and hence is not dependent upon the external factors. The dependent pleasure is termed as kama, and the independent one is termed as moksha. The Indo-Aryan philosophy classifies all endeavors into four categories pertaining to first dharma, into bracket moral values, bracket complete. Second artha, into bracket economic aspects, bracket complete. Third kama, into bracket worldly pleasure, bracket complete. And fourth moksha, into bracket liberation, bracket complete. All such endeavors are termed as purushartha. Those pertaining to kama and moksha are the objectives, while those concerned with earth and dharma are the means for attaining the same. Since the objective of kama happens to be transitory, one should really endeavor for the lasting objective of moksha, or into bracket attainment of liberation, bracket complete. As the triad of samyakdarshan, into bracket right perception, bracket complete, samyakgyan, right knowledge, this was into the bracket, and samyakcharitra, into bracket right conduct, bracket complete, constitutes the path of liberation. The endeavor to reach those states is the true purushartha. When we are born, we hardly know anything about ourselves or about the world around us. As we come in contact with the different situations and the different people, we are fascinated to know about them, and the process of learning starts. That is the beginning of Purushartha. During the young age, there is a high degree of zeal and vigor associated with that process. The vigor runs in high gear and it continually prompts us to go ahead. Whether it is in the realm of education or sports, building up the career or falling in love, we aspire to reach the new heights. But our endeavor generally remains restricted to physical achievements. In other words, we remain busy pursuing kama. There is hardly any insight to dwell within. The diligence and zeal with which we pursue our objective reach the zenith during the middle 20s, when we normally select the spouse and or embark upon a career. Thereafter, the motivating spirit starts going down. That may not be immediately noticeable, but the descending trend normally becomes evident by the time we turn 40, and later on, we almost cease to have the enterprising spirit. The Purushartha thus virtually comes to an end. The interest in reaching new heights disappears, and we start feeling happy and satisfied with what we have and what we have been doing. Our endeavors rests limited to retaining what we have achieved. Our liveliness is almost gone, and we happen to lose interest in achieving anything new. Again, fatigue, exhaustion, etc. are normally cited as the reasons for that change, but those factors do not necessarily lead to an inert life. Except for ill health, it is possible to live an active life in spite of the aging process. Aging will surely reduce the physical ability, and therefore we may not be able to pursue anything with missionary zeal that we had been doing earlier. What is therefore required at that stage is to go in for something different that can still be within our reach. We need to have an objective that does not require too much physical vigor, and yet it is significant to provide the motivation for attaining the same. Development of inner consciousness is such an objective. Striving for that purpose is not restricted to the aged. The youngsters also can do that. Excuse me. If, however, that is not undertaken earlier, it should be pursued at least at the later age. That pursuit can lead to manifestation of capabilities which are usually attributed to the superhuman beings. Those capabilities lie inherent within and can be manifested by one's own efforts. That is the sphere of swapurushartha, into brackets, self-endeavor, bracket complete. Sorry. No one else can do it for us. That is the endeavor for spiritual pursuit, which had until recently remained unknown to the Western world. But there is now a noticeable awareness for seeking something beyond the material field. The scientists have started thinking in terms of something beyond the body and brain. Even the common people have been contemplating about the aspects which till now had remained the Eastern preserve. The study of the Tattvārtha Sutra is relevant in this context. It lays that there are infinite possibilities for self-development and indicates how those potentialities can be realized. In other words, it shows the way to manifest the capabilities which are lying within. The endeavor for that purpose constitutes dharma, and full manifestation of the capabilities is moksha. Its concept of moksha is thus not abstract. It does not relate to the abode in a remote, secluded corner of the universe. It is equated with total realization of potentialities. As the obstacles that hamper the manifestation of the capabilities are removed, the full manifestation arises. That objective can no longer be set aside as being utopian. Tattvārtha Sutra shows that it is within the reach for every thinking person who tries to attain it. For that purpose, it does not lay any mystic theories or dwell in the realm of philosophy. It clearly defines every concept and concisely indicates step by step what needs to be done for attaining the objective of moksha. Its first chapter deals with various concepts like path of liberation, main fundamentals, types of knowledge, the way they arise, viewpoints, etc. Let us examine that. Samyakdarshan Jnana Charitrani mokshamarga. Sutra 1.1. Right perception, right knowledge, and right conduct constitute the path of liberation. The path of liberation consists of three factors of right perception, right knowledge, and right conduct. It does not depend upon blessing, grace, or other favor of some human or superhuman authority. The emphasis is on the right approach. One should have right thinking and right conviction, and he should behave in light of that conviction. In fact, one who has firm faith cannot remain without behaving in accordance with that. It becomes incumbent upon him to go ahead and develop the capability that lies within. What is needed is to have the discernment to make out what is right and what is wrong. The vigor for putting the understanding into practice is bound to follow. The right discernment is thus the basic requirement. Tattvārtha Shraddhanam samyakdarshanam. The faith in essential truths is the right perception. This sutra defines the right perception as the faith resulting from conviction about the fundamental truths. Notice that the sutra does not refer to the blind faith. It conveys the faith in truth. Tanni sargadadigamadva. The right perception arises naturally or by acquisition. The sutra says how the right perception arises. That perception is not to be gained from outside sources. It is inherent within the soul and can arise by getting rid of the wrong approach. Everyone needs to endeavor for that. Undertaking of the endeavor for that purpose is purushartha. Some beings have made that endeavor in earlier lives. As such, they are imbibed with right discernment by birth. That is termed as natural rise of right perception. Those beings are therefore not required to make effort for that purpose in the present life. But there are very few persons who come in that category. For instance, Tirthankaras are born with right perception. That capability is brought forth from their previous lives. The same logic is applicable in those cases where it arises by virtue of some sudden impact. In their case, the perception which they had brought forth lay dormant till getting that impact. In either of these cases, the souls concerned must have made the endeavor during the earlier lives. The other alternative is to gain it by learning, by developing capability for the purpose. It requires conscious efforts to gain the right perception, that is termed as adhikama. The great majority of the people fall in that category. Most people are born without any accomplishment. They have to strive for achieving the same. Those who endeavor succeed in gaining the right perception, while those who do not stay bereft of it. They're not aware of their potentialities and stay stuck with wrong approach, which is called madhyaloka. Jeeva, asrav. I'm sorry. Jeeva, ajeev, asrav, bandha, samvar, nirjara, moksha soul, lifeless matter, incoming of karma, bondage, prevention, eradication, and liberation constitute the categories of truth. This sutra specifies jeeva or soul, ajeev or lifeless matter, asrav or incoming of karma, bandha or bondage, samvar or prevention of karma, nirjara or eradication of bondage, and moksha or liberation as the main aspects that constitute truth. Of these 7 aspects, the first 2, soul and lifeless matter, are most vital. There are several lifeless substances, but we are mainly concerned with pudgal or tangible matter, which is the only substance the soul can interact with. The soul has infinite capabilities. It is inherently imbibed with them, but being unaware of that, the worldly soul interacts with the lifeless matter in pursuit of happiness. That interaction leads to bondage of karma. How that bondage occurs, how to prevent it, and how to get freed from the same is the subject matter of spiritual science. In that context, we need to consider the remaining 5 aspects. Asrav and bandha, by virtue of indulgence in attachment or aversion for the situations that arise from time to time, karma particles are prompted to penetrate within the provinces of soul. That penetration is termed as asrav, which means incoming of karma. The karma particles are then bound to the provinces of soul. That binding is termed as bandha or bondage. That lasts for a short or long period depending upon the intensity of attachment or aversion at the time of acquiring the bondage. Samvar and nirjara, when one realizes that his indulgence is unbecoming, he tries to remain unaffected by any situation that prevents the penetration of karma particles. Such prevention is termed as samvar. But mere prevention is not enough. One also needs to get rid of the particles which have already penetrated and formed the bondage. In other words, he has to eradicate the bondage of karma. That eradication is termed as nirjara. The difference between samvar and nirjara can be explained by the analogy of cleaning a house. If one wants to clean it, he first needs to close the doors and windows through which the dirt and other garbage might come in. Thereafter, he has to remove the accumulated garbage with a broom or a vacuum cleaner. The closing of the doors and windows is analogous to samvar, while removal of the accumulated garbage is analogous to nirjara. Moksha. The existing bondage of karma is eradicated by undertaking nirjara, and the inflow of new karma particles is prevented by resorting to samvar. Thereby, one can attain the karmaless state, the state where the soul is completely free from all the lifeless particles. That itself is termed as moksha or liberation. It would be noticed that this sutra does not specify punya or wholesome activity and papa or unwholesome activity as vital aspects and enumerates 7 tattvas or fundamentals in all. That is the Digambar tradition, which considers punya and pap as implicit in asrav. As such, they specify 7 tattvas instead of 9 as per Shwetambar tradition. But whether punya and pap are separately mentioned or not, they are to be reckoned with. Specifying them as 7 or 9 does not therefore make real difference. Today, I will stop here. So if I have, by my words, pronunciations, if I have made any mistakes, michhami dukha.